Welcome back to the Gridiron Expert. We have finally finished our game-by-game predictions for every single Big Ten team, and like we always do here at our channel, it's time to recap them. It's time to bring you our projected Big Ten conference standings heading into this upcoming college football season, sharing what each team's going to go, who's going to play in the Big Ten championship, and who we have winning that Big Ten championship. But before we get to that, guys, thank you so much for joining us here at the Gridiron Expert on YouTube. Make sure to continue to like, comment, subscribe, and share our videos. And check out everything down in the description below, including our expert picks over on our website, thegridironexpert.com. Some of the best college football and NFL spread picks in the entire country, beating out over 80% of the national handicappers each of the last 5 years. So if you want guaranteed winnings, guaranteed winning record, guaranteed money right back in your pocket, and the best customer service that any handicapper is going to give you, guaranteed, this is the place for you. One of the lowest prices in the country, some of the best picks in the country. Go sign up for that full year-long subscription. Check out our Patreon account for exclusive college football content year-round, becoming a member of our Patreon Wall of Fame, and send us some gear, guys. We've only got one little bit of Big Ten gear up here right now. Technically two pieces with USC and UCLA joining the Big Ten soon, but right now only one piece of Big Ten gear. We'd love to expand and get some more. Send us your team to be represented in every single GE video as we expand our nation from coast to coast. All right, let's get to it. Let's bring up our graphic like we always do and take a look at the Big Ten conference recap, our projected Big Ten records. If you again want game-by-game predictions for all of these teams and deeper analysis for all of these teams, go check it out. Every video is in our Big Ten predictions playlist. We'd love for you to go check out all these videos, especially if it's regarding your favorite team. But let's start over in the Big Ten West. That's obviously an intriguing division in the Big Ten this year. I mean, it has been for the last few years, typically wide open. And I'd say it's wide open again this year. Illinois looked like the front runner for a while last year, couldn't pull it off. Purdue ended up winning the Big Ten West last year. Wisconsin, Iowa, traditional contenders. Minnesota hasn't won it under PJ Fleck, but they've gotten close. Could find a way to swing around and do it this year. But we've got Wisconsin winning the Big Ten West in year one under Luke Fickell. I love this Wisconsin team a lot. I love Fickell as a coach. I love what he's done offensively, bringing in Tanner Mordecai, solid offensive line, top 3 pass catchers coming back, Braylon Allen returning as one of the best running backs, not just in the Big Ten, but in the entire country. And we have the Badgers going 10-2 in his first year, 7-2 in conference play, just barely winning the West over Iowa, who we have finishing at 9-3, 6-3 in conference play. Keep in mind, Wisconsin does host Iowa on October 14th. That game more than likely going to determine who wins this division. But the Hawkeyes, no slouch, one of the best defenses in the country last year, had the chance to be even better this year. Going to have a much more competent and effective offense now that Cade McNamara has transferred in from Michigan. 9-3 for the Hawkeyes, but very well could see them maybe snag one other upset in there and get to double-digit wins under Kirk Ferentz. You know, they got a tough road slate at Penn State, at Iowa State in the non-conference, at Wisconsin, at Nebraska. But they do avoid, I believe it looks like Michigan. They do avoid Ohio State. So they got a very, very favorable schedule when it came to their cross division outside, of course, of the Penn State matchup on September 23rd, which happens to be the Penn State whiteout game. Minnesota coming in at third, tied for Iowa in conference play, but not an overall record. Minnesota, an intriguing non-conference game at North Carolina, something to watch out for in week 3. But the Golden Gophers, we do have it 8-4. This is a talented team. Ethan Kaliak-Manis is the Greek gunslinger. Going to do some fantastic things for the Minnesota offense. It's finally going to start to air it out a little bit more. The defense was 4th in the nation last year in terms of points per game allowed, allowing just 13.8 points per game. 6 starters back on that side of the ball. Defense wins championships. It's not going to get them a championship this year, but it's certainly going to get them 8 wins just like it did last year. Shot at 9 if they can win their bowl game. Illinois coming in at 4th, 7-5, 5-4 in conference play. Brett Bielema doing a phenomenal job in Champaign, kind of turning this program around. Had a shot, as we mentioned, to win the Big Ten West last year. They were 7-1. Started the year 7-1. Then some odd home losses to Purdue and Michigan State ultimately took them out. Purdue, as we mentioned, winning the Big Ten West last year. But the Fighting Illini, talented both on the offensive line and the defensive line. Biggest question for them is finding out who's going to replace Tommy DeVito at quarterback. Most likely Luke Altmaier transferring in from Ole Miss. But more importantly, Chase Brown at running back. That's going to be the key for this Illinois offense as we expect the defense to remain strong per usual. Nebraska, How about it? Nebraska, we've got going bowling for the first time since 2016. They got 7-5 record, losing record in conference play, but if you're a Cornhusker fan, you're not going to care about that, right? You're going to be happy with a bowl win, at least or a bowl appearance, at least you should be. You got Nebraska guys, again, a winning record in year one under Matt Rule. This is not your typical rebuild, right? You know, anytime you get a new coach, you're like, all right, here we go. We're going to have to go through this rebuilding process, and it's going to take time. This is not your typical rebuild. Nebraska's loaded with talent. They had 25 one-possession losses under Scott Frost. The talent was there. This team mentally was just unable to get over that hump, and late game management was unable to get over the hump. That's going to change with Matt Rule. Love the addition of Jeff Sims at quarterback. The defense is going to be a lot better than people realize. Pretty favorable schedule if you're Nebraska, if they can overcome those opening road games in the first 2 weeks of the year. Obviously, drawing Michigan is not ideal out of the East, but this Nebraska team has the talent to at least, we think 7-5, at the least get to 6-6, which would be a successful year under Matt Rule. So all those teams going bowling. Purdue and Northwestern rounding out the West at 4-8 for Purdue. Again, kind of crazy to say that the reigning Big Ten West champs are going to finish with a losing record, but that's what happens when you lose your star quarterback in Aiden O'Connell. That's what happens when you lose your head coach in Jeff Brom. And you have a lot of questions on both sides of the ball with a new young head coach in Ryan Walters. So Purdue certainly going to be in for some growing pains in their first year under Walters. And Northwestern, obviously at 2-10, 0-9 in conference play. 2-10 might even be generous. I can maybe even see them going 1-11 amid the hazing scandal, amid the firing of Pat Fitzgerald, and just an abysmal offense across the board. Northwestern is going to struggle mightily, just like they did last year, going 1-11 in 2022. Over in the East, this to me is the more intriguing of the division. Both are going to be fun to watch, but this is going to be a fun one. Michigan, Ohio State, Penn State, those are your top contenders. Maryland, Rutgers, Michigan State, Indiana, I wouldn't say are stellar dwellers, but I don't think anybody has them projected to win the East or contend for an East title. It comes down to these three teams in Michigan, Ohio State, and Penn State. And we do have Michigan going undefeated and making the Big Ten championship again. They've won each of the last two. They've been to the playoff each of the last 2 seasons. They get to host Ohio State, which is huge for the Wolverines. They do have to go to Penn State, but everything else prior to that is a cakewalk. I would not be surprised at all, shouldn't be surprised at all, if Michigan is 9-0 heading into their road game at Penn State on November 11th. They played Penn State and Ohio State both in a 3-week span. That's not easy. That's not ideal. But this Michigan team is legit, guys. Maybe the best team that Jim Harbaugh has fielded during his time in Ann Arbor. Love everything about it, from the quarterback in J.J. McCarthy, the running backs in Blake Corum and Donovan Edwards, a solid wide receiver core, fantastic offensive line, maybe one of the best in the country. Defensively, going to be strong. I just got to go with Michigan. Got to go with Michigan. Maybe 11-1 if you want to give them that loss at Penn State. We don't think it happens. Even if 11-1, they're still going to win the Big Ten East and should potentially make the college football playoff. Ohio State at 10-2. Some people are going to be shocked by that. But Ohio State, guys, they've got a rough schedule. Rough schedule with questions everywhere, right? I mean, wide receiver core is phenomenal. Running back core is phenomenal. Quarterback, question mark. Kyle McCord more than likely going to get the job. How he plays dictates how Ohio State does this year. How their rushing defense fares dictates how Ohio State does this year. They have a tough road game at Notre Dame, a tough road game at Michigan, as we mentioned, road game at Wisconsin, and then the home game against Penn State, which won't be easy either. I mean, you've got 4 brutal games for Ohio State. Are they going to lose all 4? Absolutely not. Are they going to lose the majority of them? I say absolutely not. But we've got to lose in half of them. Got to lose in half of them. They're going to lose 2 of the 4 games that we just mentioned in Notre Dame, Penn State, Wisconsin, and Michigan. 10-2 is not going to be good enough to get in the playoff. They're 1 game away from making the Big Ten championship. If they can maybe snag a win over Michigan, they will make the Big Ten championship, but I don't think they're able to after losing the last 2 in pretty dominating fashion. So Ohio State at 10-2, 8-1. Penn State at 10-2, 7-2. We have them dropping 2 conference games. This is going to be a fun team to watch, though, guys. I am high on Penn State. I'm rooting for Penn State. I'm hoping Penn State does well. I have a lot of respect for James Franklin and what he's been doing in Happy Valley. Look, this team's good. Drew Aller's legit at quarterback. They have one of the better running back rooms in the country, and Nick Singleton and Katron Allen. They have questions at wide receiver. That does concern me a little bit, but that defense, with Manny Diaz as defensive coordinator calling the shots, is going to be dangerous with 8 starters back on that side of the ball. watch out for the Nittany Lions, guys. I mean, they are one upset away, whether that might be against Ohio State or Michigan, one upset away from maybe contending for a college football playoff spot. And this very well could be the year that they do it. This team is that good. We don't have them getting over the hump this year, but would not be shocked in the slightest if they pull off one of those wins. And it more than likely would come at home against Michigan on November 11th. Every other game, the rest of their schedule is pretty dang favorable. Then you get into the bottom half of the East, if you want to call it that. We do have two other teams going bowling. Maryland in at 7-5, fresh off their first 8-win season since 2010. Mike Locksley continuing to do phenomenal things in College Park. I really like this Maryland team, especially offensively. I'm concerned with them in the trenches. That's why I think they're going to kind of be out-physicaled in a couple of their games this year, maybe against the likes of Illinois, certainly against the likes of the upper class of the Big Ten East, such as Ohio State, Michigan, and Penn State. But nonetheless, Mike Locksley going to clinch another winning season with the Terrapins, and that's really all you can ask for. And what more can you ask for if you're a Maryland fan? Another solid year. What more can you ask for if you're a Rutgers fan? We've got them going 6-6 to clinch their first legitimate bowl appearance since 2014, nearly a decade. Greg Schiano now in his fourth year in Piscataway, and we've coined it, well, kind of pandemonium in Piscataway. I love this Rutgers team, guys. The defense is a lot better than people realize. Gavin Wimsaw is a much better quarterback than people realize. And if you look at Rutgers' schedule, go take a look at that Rutgers video and see who we have them beating and losing to. But those first 8 games, very, very, very favorable for the Scarlet Knights. That's where they're going to have to do the majority of their damage, as the final 4 games are against Ohio State, Iowa, Penn State, and Maryland. But we do believe they find a way to win 6 games this year. And what a turnaround in Piscataway. What a turnaround for Greg Schiano in his second stint with the Scarlet Knights. Some may say it's a stretch. I say not at all. Rutgers is going bowling. And rounding out the Big Ten East, Michigan State at 4-8. Some go, how is that possible? Well, it's possible when you lose your star quarterback and your top 2 wide receivers and your top 2 players in your secondary, and your rushing defense is giving up 180 rushing yards per game. It doesn't look to be that much better this year. That's how it's possible. It's also possible when your schedule is brutal with a non-conference game against Washington, a legitimate college football playoff contender, a cross-division game at Iowa and at Minnesota, very, very difficult, and then, of course, playing in the Big Ten East against Michigan, Ohio State, and Penn State. That is how it's possible. So maybe the Spartans find a way to get to 5 wins, but I do not think this is a bowl team. I think they have too many questions on both sides of the ball, as an absolutely brutal schedule for Mel Tucker. And last year was a big step back after their highly successful 2021 season. People thought, oh, we'll bounce back in 2023 after a down 2022. I'm just not seeing it. Michigan State struggles this year, and Indiana struggles even more, just like Northwestern, 2-10, 0-9. I really wish these 2 teams would play each other so one of them could get a conference win, but I do think this is the end of the Tom Allen era in Bloomington. I hate to say that because I love Tom Allen. I love what he's done with the program. I love his energy. I love his passion. I know he loves his program and loves his players, but Indiana's schedule, brutal once again. Lots of question marks on both sides of the ball. They weren't very good last year at all. 4-8 last season, and probably should have been 1-11 if we're being honest. Had a couple of lucky breaks. This Indiana team is going to be searching for a new coach, maybe by mid-season. I think they have a couple wins in there in the first part before the bye week, but they struggle mightily in conference play. And again, I hate to see it, but with so many new transfers coming in, over 25 new players from the transfer portal coming in, trying to plug and play, I just don't think it pans out. So with that, guys, our Big Ten championship game is Wisconsin versus Michigan. Michigan just making the rounds, right? A couple of years ago, it was Iowa. Last year, it was Purdue. Shoot, this year, let's give it a new Big Ten West champion. It's going to be Wisconsin. And this game is going to be closer than people think, because I think Wisconsin's defense can hold their own against Michigan's offense, and I think their offense, Wisconsin's, can put some points on this Michigan defense. I have a lot of faith in what Luke Fickell's building in Madison. It's only his first year. I've only seen him coach 1 game in the bowl game last year, and to me, that doesn't really count. So this is a closer game than people realize, but at the end of the day, Michigan is still way too much. The Wolverines are the best team in the Big Ten until proven otherwise. They're the favorite to win the Big Ten until proven otherwise. And we will have Michigan taking down Wisconsin in a much closer Big Ten championship game than we've had in years past. A much closer challenge, a bigger challenge for Michigan than Purdue was last year, than Iowa was the year before. But regardless, the Wolverines still win the crown for the 3rd straight year. And for the 3rd straight year, the Michigan Wolverines will be headed to the college football playoff, either as the 1 seed or the 2 seed. Regardless, they will more than likely avoid Georgia, who we believe will be in the playoff again, per usual. and will have their shot to finally make the national championship game. They failed to get there each of the last 2 years. This is the year they have to break through and do it. And entering the playoff at 13-0 with a lot of confidence, that might just be exactly what they need. So guys, there you have it, our official Big Ten college football predictions. We'd love to get your feedback down in the comments below. Go check out, again, all the individual videos for deeper analysis on these teams and the game-by-game predictions for every single one of them. We've got one conference left, right? We've got the ACC coming up. ACC game-by-game predictions starting on Friday, and then, of course, all of our group of 5 predictions as well. We'll do those conference recaps. You won't want to miss out on that. But the ACC beginning on Friday. We're in the month of August. Prediction season is coming to a close, which means the season is right around the corner. And, of course, we'll have you covered every step of the way right here at the Gridiron Expert. So, once again, guys, as always, thank you so much for watching. Please continue to like, comment, subscribe, share our videos. Check out our expert picks down in the description below, our Patreon down in the description below, and our mailing address down in the description below. Send us some gear for your favorite team to be represented in every single Gridiron Expert video. And once again, guys, as always, thank you so much for watching. And we'll see you next time right here on the Gridiron Expert.
Yeah.